Hi everyone. Well, I had a birthday recently, and my friend Mikey Arugula decided to surprise me with three issues of the great magazine that we grew up with as kids, or I did. Some of you out there, I'm sure, did too. Famous Monsters of Filmland. And he wanted to do this. When I say surprised me, he did say he was going to buy me an issue, but he wanted me to list certain magazine copies that I did not already own. I have a pretty extensive collection of Famous Monsters magazines, but I'm missing a lot of the earliest ones. So I had a whole bunch of them, maybe like 15 of them listed, and I didn't know what I was going to get. I thought it'd be one. Well, he actually was nice enough to get me three magazines. And to start with, I'm going to show you this issue. It says number 17 from May of 19, I believe, 62. 1962. The Bride of Frankenstein on the cover. What a great cover that is. And it's funny because when this was on the newsstands, I was 1 month old. Just think about it. I mean, this is such a great magazine. It's of an era, of a certain time. Forrest J. Ackerman, of course, put this magazine out. Uncle Forry. He was everybody's best friend. Kids just absolutely loved this magazine. Yeah, May of 1962. It's amazing, to think that, the age that I was and so forth. Back then, in these days, you didn't have like home video. You didn't have VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. And if you were a kid, you would rely on this magazine. You look forward to it. There he is. There's Forry Ackerman there, the editor of Famous Monsters. And you had to deal or accept having just photos. The movies were not on TV. You couldn't watch them. A lot of people out there will say that must have been disappointing as a kid. You didn't have VHS, you didn't have any home movies, but it was good enough because we didn't know any different that we watched these movies on television. Now, later on, Glenn Strange as the Frankenstein monster. After you watch them on TV, you would have to keep them in your memory of what it was like to see them, and then having this particular magazine would bring the memories home for you. The great Lon Chaney Sr. Okay, now you want to know, well, if this was out in 1962, and if I was only 1 month old when this was on the stand, well, how the hell am I familiar with this magazine? Because issue number 96 was the first issue that I bought. It was called the Special Wolfman issue. It had Frankenstein meets the Wolfman in it. It had the original 1941 Wolfman in it. That was the first issue I got. That was in 1973 when I was 11. This magazine, the original run, was on the stands from 1958 till I believe 1982 or 83, around there. And then there were different revivals of the magazine, but I only count that first run from the 50s to the early 80s. Here's another issue. This is August of 1963. And I think this is issue number 17. This is the Werewolf of London. Not to be confused, as I always say, with an American Werewolf in London. That's not the issue. That's not the movie we're talking about here. And here's an example of Forry Ackerman. I'm glad this issue talks about I tore a page already. See that? Slight little tear. The amazing Acker monster. They called Forry Ackerman the Acker monster. And he had like an amazing collection. Back then, to see a man with a collection like that, us kids never really knew that there were adults that were into monsters like we were. And, as you know, he wound up putting his collection into a magazine, sharing with us all these photos. King Kong. And how wonderful it was to know that we weren't crazy. Even adults like monsters movies, you know. So here's The Werewolf of London. It's really not the first Wolfman movie or werewolf movie, but it's the first talking werewolf movie, sound werewolf movie, I believe. There's a shot. Oh, blood. Did we really see blood on the face of somebody back in 1963? That must have really impressed people, made them grossed out. So many pictures I could show. I'm trying to be a little gentle in here because, of course, there were ads. You know, you could buy all these things, these record albums and things as well, and monster masks and so forth. So, yeah, really nice. And finally, the third issue I have here. This one's in kind of rough shape. This is from February of 1963. Again, we got The Bride of Frankenstein, but this time with Boris Karloff as the monster on it. How wonderful is this? You know, if you're of the same kind of age as I am or older, you'll know what I'm talking about with this. Maybe you bought some of these on the newsstand when they were first out, and of course, you will have had a great privileged childhood if that's the case. A lot of Bride of Frankenstein pics, behind the scenes shots. You know, try to imagine what this was like. Nobody saw anything like this. But now on the internet, we're used to seeing behind the scenes photos, like pictures like this. You know, this stuff is routine. Like there's, you know, gag shot there. But, you know, in 1963, you didn't get stuff like this. Dwight Fry, the actor, you know. And it was really a wonderful way to have photos and an account of the movie. Unless you had maybe a silent 8mm projector or something at home. Well, that's the gist of it, folks. I just wanted to share this with you. I am still, look at this, a relatively new movie. Look at that, The Phantom of the Opera, Hammer Films, right there. Herbert Lom, 1962, a brand new movie. Brand new movie practically when this is out. But anyway, yeah. Just wanted to share. And one last thing. You know, sometimes you'd see a picture like this and you weren't used, this is before you had gory films, you know, really gory films and stuff. So that was like a little bit much for kids, they thought at the time. And the great Lon Chaney Jr., finally. I think I lost my train of thought, but anyway, I just wanted to share these. Yeah, I'm trying to get a complete set of Famous Monsters of Filmland. The problem is to get a really nice, pristine copy from the early 60s and so forth, or the 50s, you know, early issues. When you do that, it can be pretty expensive. Before I go, one more. Okay, 2 more issues. This is not from Mikey Arugula. This is one that I bought on my own. That's an early issue. Issue number 28. And the oldest issue that I own and the most expensive issue that I own. This is from 1958. 1958. Before I was on this earth. 2nd grade issue. It's a little torn up there. Let me tell you, this cost me a pretty penny. Cost me a pretty penny, even though it's not in mint condition, because I believe this is the hardest one to get. I think there were the fewest copies made. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you had some fun with this. And talk to you soon.